Welcome to the School of Love, the place where miracles are normal. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, the School of Love. My name is Maria and I'm helping people discover their inner potential for love towards oneself and towards the others. From the very beginning, I must emphasize the fact that this channel is not part of my educational and research activities at Hiroshima University. It is nonetheless part of my privilege, joy, and sense of duty to propagate and implement knowledge, information, as well as motivation and inspiration outside the limited framework of academic endeavors. With that being said, let's dive right into today's topic, which is letting go. Letting go is a very important topic for myself. I have already several videos on letting go from various perspectives. Why is letting go so important? In my opinion, letting go is so important because it allows us to become free. Free from worries, free from regrets, free to experience and to explore the world around us and to grasp the beauties that life has to offer to us. Letting go is important because it makes it possible for us to move forward, to enjoy every step of the way in life with a sense of innocence and awe, which is quite often a characteristic of childhood, and which quite often gets lost, or more often than not, gets lost in the process of growing up. Personally, I believe this is a huge loss, that we cannot preserve that sense of innocence and awe which allows us in our childhood to experience the world every day with a new and newly refreshed sense of enjoyment. And on the third level, letting go is important because it makes it possible to forgive ourselves and to forgive the others. I always say that in these empath communities and trauma healing communities, forgiving and forgiveness are at the core of any protocol which is supposed to bring us beneath the clutches of the trauma or the clutches of those who have wronged us. In my opinion, though, forgiveness and forgiving are way overrated because it puts a huge pressure on the person who actually needs understanding and compassion rather than this pressure to find solutions, to move towards resolving the problem instead of dwelling on it. So forgiving and forgiveness, they are important. Nevertheless, they are important as maybe a final stage in the grieving and healing process, not at the beginning. If you are new to the channel, at this moment I would like to ask you to please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting. Thank you very, very much. This helps us not only with the mysterious algorithm which seems to dominate the YouTube galaxy, but also with contributing to the expansion of the community of humans doing their best to impact positively the world and those around them by discovering their authentic selves and living life wholeheartedly. Thanks again. Well, letting go in its various appearances, letting go of outcome, letting go of attachment, letting go of pain, which at some point is so entrenched with our own identity that letting go of that pain means losing a part of ourselves, losing a part of what we have come to believe that we are. This is probably one of the most devastating ways of letting go. Nevertheless, it is incredibly important to let go of that pain, which holds us back and doesn't allow us to move forward in a healthy, steady, and sustainable manner. So I have already alluded what letting go is. is a way, a very important way, even though it is more often than not again ignored by those who should know better, for instance, by our teachers, by our friends, by our families. In the case of those lucky enough to have those families, to have loving, supportive families. So very often we are taught, or we are trained, or it is suggested to us to have a goal and to focus on that goal, or to have an ideal, and then to focus on that ideal. But what actually works in my experience much better is knowing quite well what you want, but then allow the universe to bring it to you, or to bring you to it, instead of trying to force it to happen, or trying to force yourself to make it happen. And in order to achieve an authentic way of letting go, which then enhances your own vulnerability. So vulnerability means to be who you are, well, in a healthy manner, right? Not in oversharing or trauma-bonded manner. So to be who you are towards the others, so that the others know who you are and do not get entangled or intertwined with you in an based on uninformed decisions. So the first step in moving into that direction, to a direction of healthy letting go, is to become aware of it, respectively to become aware of the need of letting go. How that happens? This happens by means of starting to ask you simple questions like, why am I doing what I am doing? Why am I hanging out with people with whom I am hanging out? What am I doing here in this world? Well, it can move towards more philosophical questions like, why have I come into the world? What is my position in this world? What is the legacy I'm willing to leave, or I'm able to leave behind, or I would like to leave behind? And how do I want to spend these few decades, which hopefully are meant for me in this world, on this beautiful planet? So I would say, some other specialists say 90% of any healing process or of any growing process is awareness. I would say it's actually over 95%, 97% is simply awareness. Become aware of who you are, and so that you can, in a second step, identify the trigger. Identifying the trigger again comes from facing, well, sometimes uncomfortable questions, but necessary ones. For instance, why am I glued to a specific outcome? Why am I glued to this person or activity or subject or object? What makes it both toxic and attractive? So that I find myself again and again drawn into obsessive behaviors, emotions, and thoughts. What is both soothing and threatening about it, that I'm caught in this tension, in this stress ratio between what I know I should be doing and what I am actually doing. So it's very important to identify the trigger, to identify the element, the person, the event, the emotion, which once popped up, once again entering one's situation, it triggers this flood of wanting to cling to it, and making you feel, or making us feel, as if we couldn't live without it. I know it from experience, I know from other people's experiences, that this idea, I don't want it, but actually I'm so powerfully drawn to it that I cannot renounce it, is a sure sign, not of addiction necessarily, but of that something is actually very negative, very detrimental to us, from mental health perspective, or from a physical health perspective, from a social, spiritual, emotional perspective, and so on. Yeah? So it's important to identify the trigger, what precisely makes us want to cling to a person, to an outcome, to a specific protocol, which deep down we know actually it is unhealthy for us. And then once you have identified the trigger, the next step is actually to identify the payoff. There is always, and this is the uncomfortable truth. This is the truth we don't want to hear, but well, it is what it is. There is always some sort of positive payoff, some sort of reward, which comes from engaging in this clinging behavior, so these clinging patterns of thought. We get some sort of validation, or confirmation which emerges from holding on to a specific outcome, or from holding on to a specific person, or from holding on to a specific activity or protocol of life. Maybe it's not necessarily validation or confirmation, but maybe it's some sort of feeling of superiority. Maybe there is some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy dynamics which comes into play. There is something powerful enough to keep you in that unhealthy dynamics of clinging to something you know deep down is actually deeply unhealthy for you. And then, further step number 4, it is important, it is actually crucial to find healthy ways to deal with triggers. So not resisting them. As my meditation program says, what we resist persists. So it's not about resisting them. It's also not necessarily about replacing them. This is when in this habit formation community, they say the best way to get rid of a habit is to replace it to another habit. Yes, this can work in specific cases, but there are some habits which cannot really be replaced with something else, or some specific obsessions. We cannot really replace them with something else. Like you cannot replace an obsession with another obsession. Maybe that second obsession is healthier, but it's still an obsession, and an exaggeration of something will always lead to a negative consequences over time. So, in my opinion, the healthier way to deal with it is to find healthy manners, healthy ways to deal with a trigger. So, and this means also if you can, and you can at some point, if you approach the issue, the trigger, which keeps you a prisoner of this unhealthy dynamics, from which letting go would actually set you free. If you approach it in a compassionate and warm-hearted manner towards yourself, at some point you will be able to proactively look at the memory, the place, the emotion, and to face it with compassion and warm-heartedness instead of running away from it. It's not about running away from things. It's about understanding them, seeing them for what they are, so that we can let go of them in peace, in harmony, in acceptance, not in a need to get rid of them. Because if we try to force ourselves to get rid of things out of need, they will stay there. They will be maybe less visible, less hurtful, less triggering. But in those moments when we actually need peace of mind the most, in those moments when we're tired, in those moments when we are sad, when we feel depleted, this is when they will show their claws. So this is why it's important to acknowledge them, to acknowledge what keeps us a prisoner of ourselves, to accept it, and to look at it with kindness and compassion, not with hatred and disdain. It is, after all, still part of us, and it contributed to our survival. It contributed to bringing us where we are now, each of us. And on this, in this same train of thoughts, it is important, it is crucial to be grateful for whatever you're letting go of, or you have been letting go of, or you have already let go of. practicing practicing radical acceptance trumps any other strategy of coping with letting go, of coping with loss, and of coping with moving forward while leaving things behind which, well, no longer suit your present self. So you are who you are, also due to these negative elements which have been at some point a very important part of your life. So you are who you are, and this is a good thing. So practicing acceptance, practicing gratitude, practicing kindness towards those parts of you who are not longer part of you, but who have contributed to you becoming who you are today, is a very important, is a crucial strategy in moving forward in a healthy manner. It is very often, more often than not, forgotten or ignored. Nevertheless, know that it is important, and that if you can practice this sense of radical gratitude or radical acceptance, it won't bother and intrude your life anymore. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope this video helped you in the same manner in which the information I have shared with you have helped me as well in my journey towards whatever awaits for me ahead of the present moment. Thank you again for listening, and I'm looking forward to welcome you back here again very soon. Love and peace.